Hi, my name is Ver Groteman. In this module QNE-ADK Installation, I will go over the following topics. What is QNE-ADK? How do we install QNE-ADK? I will show you some help commands on the command line interface, and we will go over the local and remote commands. And in the end, the QNE-ADK commands for application development and running experiments will pass. To make it possible to extend our Quantum Network Explorer with new applications, we have developed the Application Development Kit for Quantum Network Explorer, QNE-ADK. QNE-ADK includes everything that's needed to build quantum network applications yourself. After installing QNE-ADK, you are ready to go. QNE-ADK offers a command line interface with commands to create the necessary files that define applications and experiments. Of course, you can also start from scratch or clone an existing application as a starting point. QNE-ADK is a software development kit that helps you construct all the necessary parts of an application to run on the QNE website quantumnetwork.com. QNE-ADK also offers remotely working commands, for example to clone an existing application from QNE, or uploading and publishing your own application to the QNE Community Application Library. This cool feature will be subject of Module 3.4. So, let's get started with application development by installing QNE-ADK on your system. For developing QNE applications, we deliver all the necessary components. Call it the development toolkit. The development toolkit includes the QNE-ADK CLI and a quantum network simulator to run and test your application before sharing it with the community. The same components of the toolkit are used in the QNE backend. This way, locally running applications can seamlessly be uploaded and run on the QNE platform. The toolset is shown in the next figure. Netcasm is used as a generic interface to run quantum internet applications. For connecting to the NetSquid simulator, a connector package SquidAsm is used. With this setup, the application can run without modifications on a different simulator or on real quantum hardware. There are some requirements for installing the QNE-ADK. A modern Linux or Mac OS, a 64-bit operating system. If you don't have Linux or Mac OS, you could run it via virtualization, for example using VirtualBox. If you have Windows 10 or 11, you can also use a Linux box on WSL. When using WSL, you have to install Keyring first. Also, you need a Python version 3.8 or higher and pip version 19 or higher. A Python virtual environment should be created and activated before installing QNE-ADK. For running the simulations of applications on NetSquid, QNE-ADK makes use of Netcasm, which at its turn makes use of SquidAsm. For the SquidAsm package, you need credentials to use it. These credentials can be obtained by registering on the forum of NetSquid. To install QNE-ADK, you have to execute two pip install commands. The first to install QNE-ADK and the second to install SquidAsm. In the second, you have to replace the NetSquid username and NetSquid password with the credentials you registered with on netsquid.org forum. To install the QNE-ADK, execute the following commands in a running virtual Python environment. First, we do pip install QNE-ADK. After installing QNE-ADK, you can install SquidAsm and NetSquid, a quantum network simulator. When installing SquidAsm, the system will ask you for your username and the password you registered on netsquid.org. Now everything should be set up and ready in order to develop applications and experiments and run them on the local simulator. To test the installation, we can enter, for example, QNE-help. We will wait until installation is complete. When you see exactly this, the installation was complete. We have implemented an easy-to-use help system to get help for each command and its options. A short description for the command and arguments is printed. Also, an example is provided for each command. First, we will print the help for the application command. As you see, we see all the different subcommands that are possible and a short description for them. To show the help for each subcommand, we enter the subcommand, for example, clone --help, and we get the help text for this subcommand. QNE-ADK distinguishes local and remote commands. The remote commands are used to communicate with QNE Web API or CAL, the Community Application Library. The local commands obviously do not need a web server. For some commands, options --remote and --local are present to specify the need for reaching the web server or not. For example, listing the apps currently available on the QNE website, we do QNE application list and then --remote, and we get a list of all the applications currently on the website. To do the same for the local applications, and we see that we have no local applications available. For running remote commands, one needs to log in to the web server first. For this, we have to login command. To get the credentials to log in, you need to register as a user on the QNE website and use these credentials to log into QNE-ADK. For now, we concentrate on the local commands, while later in the course, we will use the remote versions and many of the QNE-ADK commands. QNE-ADK offers commands for building applications and running experiments on the simulator locally. I will go over a few of them quickly. For this, I first switch to my IDE. Let's see what we get when we create an application. I put them in the subdirectory apps. For this, we have the subcommand create. I put in my application name. And the roles of my application. And here we see my app is created successfully. Now we will go over the commands for creating an experiment. Given the application name and the network name that we want to create an experiment for, the file structure is created based on templates for the expected experiment files. Notice that the application files are part of the experiment files and are copied to the input directory for the experiment. One additional file, experiment.json, is added. The next module will dive into the contents of this experiment.json. A local experiment can be validated. Basic validation is done on the experiment structure. For this, we have the subcommand validate for experiment. So QNE experiment validate my experiment, as you see on the slide. The QNE experiment command has subcommands called run and results to run the experiment on the simulator and to get or show the results of the experiment run. The application and experiment we just created from scratch cannot be run yet. To show how to run an application on a simulator, we should clone an existing application and run it. But because these experiment and application are created from scratch, they are actually empty and do not do anything. With this, the QNE-ADK installation module concludes. We learned how to set up the development environment and showed the help system for fast help on command syntax. We saw some of the commands for creating and validating the template files for applications and experiments. Also in this module, we got a peek of the file structure that defines the applications and experiments. At this point, we are ready to dive more into the basics of application development and what we expect to write into all these files we saw. We do that in the next module.